Namaste and welcome to yet another episode of the Influence Academy with myself, Anusha, brought to you by Extra Tech and 3B's Education and Migration. On tonight's episode, I'm accompanied by such a personality who is a passionate lawyer. She regularly appears before various courts and tribunals. Her legal experience has gained her exposure in various property matters, including building and construction disputes, debt recovery, insolvency, insurance matters, and administrative issues. So in tonight's episode, we'll be discussing her journey on becoming a lawyer, what is law, and how it is important. So with all speed, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Shreeya Pandey.
Thank you.
How are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Okay, let's begin. Life has its own set of paths that we choose to embark, and different turns of event led us to select the current way that we're on. So what I want to ask you is, what were the events that led you to, be passionate about law?
Really good question. Growing up, I was always the one person that would always stand up for what I believed in, whether it be about climate change, whether I thought someone did something wrong. I always had a very strong opinion that made me a natural advocate. Till this day, I'm a natural advocate. I will always stand up for what I believe in, and especially when it comes to issues that are close to my heart. So naturally, I did not know that I wanted to become a lawyer. I did a lot of public speaking and debating throughout school, and I was really good at it. I could debate anything with anyone, especially with my parents. And it was only in my first year of university, actually, where just this passion and this inner thought in me said, you know what, you should be a lawyer, because I have a great ability to empathize with people. I'm a very, very good listener. I'm going to say that because I can feel what other people are feeling, and I feel like they don't have to speak too much. So for me, that really made me believe I want to be an advocate for other people. And if I can understand someone else, then what better profession to do than become a lawyer, where I'm able to use those skills. And, the most important thing when you're a lawyer is to understand your client. Your client and you have built that relationship of trust, and you need to understand what they want. So I believe it's really that advocacy in me and to stand up for what I believe in, especially now that it's my clients, whether it be a business, whether it be a person, it varies. But I believe I can really stand up and really bring those points forward.
Wow, beautifully put. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let us talk about your journey in Australia.
Sure.
I mean, you are currently a lawyer at William Roberts Lawyers.
Correct.
And you practice dispute resolution and commercial litigation.
Correct.
How did it all start?
Sure. So I moved to Australia. Well, we migrated to Australia when I was 4 years old. I couldn't speak English. And I remember my first day of preschool, I couldn't speak to anyone because I just didn't know the language. So moving from there now, I can speak English, and it was a journey because, and I think it's really important to note this because, growing up, I always saw my parents struggle. They were working numerous jobs just so myself, my mum, my brother, and me could have a good life here, and my dad as well. And it was their passion and their determination to succeed and their hardworking nature that made me believe I need to do that as well. I need to build a future that I'm happy about, that my family is proud of me about. And more so, I need to be able to stand up on my own 2 feet. So growing up until year 12, I didn't work. Actually, no, my first job was when I was 13. I worked at Subway. I got paid $5.90 an hour. And that's how I got pocket money, because my parents couldn't afford to give me pocket money. We didn't come from a very well-off family. My parents were struggling. My brother's 10 years younger than me. So when I was 10, we had a new baby, a new person to feed in the family. So straight after high school, actually, I started working full-time, and I also studied full-time. So there were many times where I would be juggling 5 days of work during the weekday, work on the weekends as well, and then also doing university. So depending, whether it's from 6 to 9 after Monday to Friday work, or if it was, I would take a day off and so forth. So really, I've worked full-time and I've studied full-time, and I think that a lot of Nepalese people are doing that now, or a lot of students are doing that now. And I just want to let them know that, you're not alone. Even I, that moved here when I was 4 years old, had to do that because I wasn't going to, who was going to pay for my textbooks? They're $500. My parents couldn't afford to pay for it, and I didn't want to ask them. I wanted to have that independence. So anyway, so back to my degree. It was a 5-year degree. With that, I juggled many jobs. I worked at a law firm. I worked at a takeaway shop. I worked at a clothing store. Then I also went into banking eventually as well. And then after that, I remember thinking to myself, I've been working since I've been 18, and now I'm not 18. And I have been working for the last 10 years nonstop. And really, I am a commercial litigation lawyer today by the things that I've experienced. So when I first was a lawyer, I was in a very generalist firm. I've represented many clients, whether it be for criminal matters, family law matters. Family law matters are very difficult, or businesses or entities. And really, I liked commercial law because you're a problem solver. You're a problem solver in any part of the law. Okay, as a lawyer, you're a problem solver. You solve someone's problem. They come to you with a problem and you solve it using legislation and law and so forth. However, for me, I went into commercial litigation, firstly commercial law, and just being able to represent businesses and entities and individuals and helping them come to a resolution of any disputes they may have.
That explains how do you help your clients?
Throughout my life, especially in my legal practice, a client will come to you, will come to the firm, the business that you work for, with an issue. Once you understand the issue and you understand what they may want, then you need to assess that issue by using the law, legislation, common law, etc. And you need to figure out what is the best solution for them. The best solution will not always be what they want. And it's really managing expectations and making sure that you're able to, firstly, as a lawyer, your duty is to the court, okay? As much as you like your client, your number one duty is always to the court. So you can't be unethical. So you need to, if someone tells you, I've committed murder, this is a criminal matter, and then you tell the court, my client is not guilty, after they've already admitted something to you, then that's unethical and you can't do that. So really, I help my clients because they come to me with an issue and then I assess the issue and I tell them what the best and the worst result can be if we take different paths. In my current role as a commercial litigation lawyer, you don't really want matters to go to court because it is expensive. It will cost, whether it's a business or whether it's an individual, a lot of money. Because court isn't easy, lawyers are not cheap. And, if you do retain someone called a barrister, I think I need to explain that actually first. Okay. So in Australia, you have a solicitor and you have a barrister. Okay. It's not like America where once you're called to the bar, you're something called a barrister.
Well, thank you, Shreeya, for your detailed explanation. That was well put and well explained.
Thank you.
And we can really show that we can really know that you're really passionate about helping your clients.
Definitely.
And thank you so much for sharing that with us. Having said that, I just want to ask you one question.
Sure.
In Australia, students or Nepalese students or any students do jobs in various industries. They are unaware of the rights. They are unaware of the law. They're unaware of the guidelines they're bound. And it can be about the super or about the law regarding their safety. Could you help us understand some basics law that any working individual should know?
Sure. Firstly, the number one advice I'll give is know your rights. As a worker or as a employee, you need to know what the minimum wage that you should receive is and what the minimum what's the environment that you should be in and what are the minimum standards that should be given to you. Okay? Now, I know it can be daunting coming to a new country and you think, oh my God, everything is so foreign. But, you're lucky because in Australia, everything is, especially when it comes to knowing your rights at work, everything is available online. Okay. And I'm sure we'll share a worksheet and a website with everyone after. But in New South Wales in particular, we have a commission called the Fair Work Commission. And they have an incredible website that outlines all the minimum standards that any employee should expect from their employer. The number one, super. If you are getting paid a wage, you need to be paid super. That is a statutory requirement. The government has said you must be paid super. If you're getting paid cash in hand, then I would strongly suggest that you renegotiate and speak to your employer and inform them that you need to get paid super. You might not think that super is a big thing at the moment. Think about your retirement. Even if you're not choosing to live in Australia, you might leave Australia, but you have your super. You can use your super for many things, I know, for example, with my super, I have allowed a component to be paid for any total, it's called TPD. So it's when you are completely injured. Let's say I have an accident. I'm walking down the street and I have an accident and I'm not able to work anymore. Then I can use my super for that component as well. Obviously, please do your own research. Every super company has so much information on their website. And I think it's not good enough that people say, oh, I don't know my rights. There's so much available information out there. You should know what your minimum payment should be. And you should know that you should be paid super. You should know that you should be given a lunch break. You should know that you shouldn't be working for extensive hours. If your work involves the hospitality industry, you are able to figure out what the minimum requirements an employer has to its employee in this industry via the Fair Work Act. So that's the act that governs. And also just by going to the website. So I would really, really recommend to everyone, especially students, take the time, go on the website, have a flick through it. If you have enough time to be scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, any other social media, then this is a must. Know your rights. And, I'm happy for anyone to ask any, minor questions. I'm not an employment lawyer, so I cannot give you advice, but I can direct you to the correct websites. And these are all free. You don't have to pay anything to be able to go to these websites and read the fact sheet that has the minimum requirements. And also, please enter into a written agreement for your employment with someone. If you're getting employed by a company, an individual, any sort of business, make sure all of your wage, how much holiday you get, whatever your agreement is. If it's part-time that you're working, part-time, permanent. If it's casual, then casuals have a very different, it's a different agreement as to someone that's permanent. But whatever it is, make sure you have it in writing. Make sure that you sit with your employer and you have an understanding as to what it is that you both agree you will do. What's your role and what will you get out of completing this role? That would be a salary. You'd get paid salary. Do you get anything else? Do you get free lunch? Do you get travel allowances? What is it? Make sure all of that is clear, because if it isn't, and if if it's all verbal communication is very hard to prove and use if you've been disadvantaged. And unfortunately, I am sure there are many students that are being disadvantaged by not having that agreement with their employer. So make sure, have that hard conversation. At the end of the day, you come first and you are in Australia for a reason, whether you're studying, whether you're trying to earn an income, make sure that you know your rights and make sure you have that agreement with your employer.
Okay, beautifully put. Thank you very much. So moving on, in my opinion, what sets us apart from rest of the animals is the law, and it creates a sense of calmness despite our chaotic nature, let's say. And law protects our general safety and ensures our rights as citizens against abuses by the people or by organization or by the government itself. So in your opinion, how does law help us to keep peace or maintain the status quo, preserving the individual rights and provide orderly social change?
We have laws in every country, in every environment for a reason. It doesn't even have to be a country. Think about, let's simplify it. Your own family, your own relationship with your partner. You have a set of rules, You have an understanding. If you do this and I do this, then there'll be peace and harmony. I like to use this example because I think that's how society works as well. The law enforcement enforces the law. In Australia, we have the Parliament, which is the government that can introduce new laws. And then we have the courts that protect the laws, but also if you breach a law, if you don't abide by a law, then there'll be consequences. And this can be either in a criminal sense, penalties, as in you may get a criminal record, you might go to jail, so forth. And then you have the civil side, where if you are, let's say you owe me, I give you a loan and you don't pay me back. The civil elements will allow you to get remedies for that, any disputes in the commercial aspect as well. So I think law provides the basic guidelines, but there's more to peace and there is more to maintaining peace than just law. And it's having that understanding with one another. If you don't understand members of your own society, if the government did not understand what we needed, then it doesn't matter what laws are introduced, there's going to be no peace. So I think understanding is a big thing. But, that's open for interpretation. So I think the laws are a guideline that you must follow. And if you breach them, then you may end up in jail. Okay, if you commit such an offence, like let's say you drink drive and you cause harm to another individual and unfortunately they pass away, then the penalty will be that you will most likely go to jail. And that is there so we don't have chaos, but that's just the basic standards. There is more to peace than just the law, in my opinion.
Having said that, there are so many laws that it is hard to keep up.
Definitely.
I mean, there are recent study done where it states that we might be unaware, or breaking of multiple laws. It can be of sharing your Netflix password or vacuuming after hours. And no matter who we are or where we live, or we are all subject to laws.
Yep.
So a person who is unaware of the law may not escape the liability of violating that law just merely because one was unaware of it. So what can we do to avoid getting fined from the laws that is unheard of or doesn't make any sense, and how it is important to know some basic laws?
Okay. Firstly, every law that there is that has ever been passed through Parliament or is currently active in Australia is available on the internet. I know it's difficult. It's like, how do you find these laws and so forth like that? But it is available, firstly. Secondly, I think some important ones to know about are the ones that impact you the most. There's no point you knowing everything about immigration law if it doesn't affect you. And really, you will need to go to a professional to understand what your rights are in that element. But the basic ones that I think are very important to know is tenancy law. I'm sure we all either have a house. If we purchase a house, it's a bit different. But if you're leasing and if you're a lessee, then it's really important to know your rights in that element as well. These are all available online. And I know I keep saying it, all available online, but you don't need to read the law. You can just read the fact sheets that are all available on many websites, which I'll share. I'll share, the top maybe 5 to 10 that I think are the most important. But I think it's really important to know the ones that impact you the most. So definitely your rights at work, know the laws around it because it's going to impact you. If you drive, know the road rules And in Australia, you need for you to get your license, you need to know the road rules, or you're not able to pass your L's, or your driving test, you won't pass them. But you need to know the road rules. You need to, like, for example, if you think that drink driving is accepted here, then there's some misunderstanding you have with the laws, Criminal laws are always important to have, but they're also basic. And, like, you need to think common sense as well a little bit. If I punch someone, if I assault someone, not punch, if I assault someone, what does that mean? Is that okay? Is that acceptable? No. If I bribe a police officer, common sense, is that okay? No. So it's really about just using also your common sense. I know there's so many laws out there and it's daunting, but if it affects you, know them. For example, business, okay? I can't say that I even know every single law, I know how to read the law, but I'm not an expert in family law. I don't know all the laws and I don't know how it's interpreted. And especially in Australia, we have the law, how you read it, how you interpret it, and then how the courts interpret it. There's common law as well. So as a lay person, a normal person, you're not going to understand the difference. So that's why you have lawyers in every industry. So really you do need to also trust. If you need advice about, setting up a business, do your own research first, please. We are so blessed to have the internet and the World Wide Web. But if you need specialized advice, don't try to do everything yourself. Know the basic rights and then go to someone. If there's an issue where you are being bullied at work, go see an employment lawyer. Do your basic research, know your rights, but go see someone that can actually help you. If you're injured at work, tell your employer. But then there's other avenues available. You might call HR, but then after that you might think, I need some legal advice. Do the basics, but go and see a workers' compensation lawyer, a personal injury lawyer. Don't, for example, I'm going to use this example. You are sick. You're going to Google your symptoms first. I always Google my symptoms. And then you're going to say, oh my God, I have coronavirus. And then when you go to the doctor, you figure out it's just a normal flu. You need to trust the professionals also in the industry, because that helps as well.
Sure. Regarding the business laws, in Australia, influx of Nepalese is not that old. However, there are so many business owners in our community in range of industries. So what are the basic laws that every business owner should keep in mind to avoid unnecessary hassle down the line?
Get a good accountant and get a good business lawyer that will set up your business. If it's, if you're setting up, for example, a company, get advice before you set up your company. I can't talk for an accountant. I can't talk for a financial advisor. I have no idea about that area. But I do know that when you set up the business, you need to set it up properly. Again, do your research, but do not do everything on your own, okay? The number one thing that I will say is, this is, again, just general information, but as business owners, know, if I'm an employer, know what your requirements to your employee are. For example, super, payroll tax, GST, any of the ATO requirements. You need to know all these areas. I can't comment on all those areas because I'm not a professional, but I'm going to keep it simple and I'll say, go and see a professional. Because so many times I've seen where, for example, there might be a partnership, two people have started up a business, and really they'll only come to see a commercial litigation lawyer when there's a dispute. So, this is a general term, but for example, A and B enter into a partnership. A is under the impression that it is a partnership, but they have 60% of the rights to the business, but B thinks that he has 60% rights and the other person has 40%. A and B don't get a proper partnership agreement in place. 5 years down the track, they have a very successful business, over $1 million in revenue per year. A goes, I want to sell my share of the business. It's 60%, you pay me this much for it. B goes, no, I have 60%. What's happened? A dispute, because they didn't enter into a proper partnership agreement where everything was written out and agreed. They didn't go to see a professional, and now there's a dispute. And then they come and see a lawyer, a commercial litigation lawyer. They come and say, oh, I'm having a partnership dispute. That partnership dispute, if it gets, if an application is filed in the court and it is litigated pretty much just means taking a matter to court and going through those processes, it can cost A and B a lot of money. I'm talking hundreds, maybe thousands worth of legal fees. If they have, if they're disputing over an amount that is, it could vary. They could be disputing over $1,000, but if they have $1 million revenue, and if there's a 20% of agreement that there's a dispute between, then it's very hard. So again, I'm going to say, see an expert. Don't do your research, but see an expert, and see an expert that can assist you. The one advice I'll give is, like your doctor, like your cleaner, like your gardener, you will want to speak to them. You need to engage in a conversation with them and see if you can trust them and have that connection with them, and if they understand you before you hire them as your solicitor. Do the same, as you would do with a doctor, as you would do with a gardener, as you would do if you're a business owner with your employee, do the same with your lawyer. Speak to them. See if you get a good, our inner minds, and our inner soul will always be able to gauge if someone, you can connect with someone. So trust your instincts and just make sure you have that conversation with them.
Thank you. That was well described. Thank you very much. Moving on, you have been involved in various charity and volunteering programs as well. So you're volunteering Australian Red Cross, Fix the World, and Parramatta Justice Legal Clinic.
Yes.
Also, you have traveled to Nepal to oversee a project that is building an agro-technical school in Nepal. So what inspired you to do all this volunteer work and share your time for volunteering? What's your motivation behind this?
My motivation behind it is when I see less fortunate people and I feel that I can help them in some way, it brings me so much happiness and power within myself, and this is where I'm going to refer to my someone who I place very high value on, and that's Ruth Ginsburg, who was a former Associate Justice of the Supreme Court in America. There was a quote that I read in her book, and she said, I don't know a word from word, but I'll just tell you briefly. She said, to help someone less fortunate than you, that is the real beauty in life. One shouldn't just focus on themselves, but they should focus on their community. And for me, that's why I volunteer. Okay, it's the service that you can give to others that are less fortunate than you. And that's why I love this program of yours, because you're able to interview people and help others that are watching feel that connection. And for me, especially in Nepal, I feel like there is not enough done by people like me, people that have migrated to amazing countries, Western countries, and then forget all about Nepal. And that's why I truly believe in going back and helping and really figuring out a root issue. Don't think of so many issues. Think of one issue and think of how you can assist. So in Nepal especially, there's a really, really dear organisation close to my heart, which is Friends of Nepal Association. I think Mr. Amit Thapa was here and he spoke about that. That organisation is very dear to my heart because I actually went to the village where Amit Dai is from, and I spoke to the people of the village and what they have gone through, and what he is doing there is just incredible. So if Amit Dai has done that for his village, why can't we go back to our country that needs us the most and help a little bit? Help as much as you can, do something. And that's why I have done volunteer programs in Nepal, because Nepal, the only reason I am who I am is because of my experiences in Nepal. It's because of my background. It's because of that connection I have back home. And we need to do more. We can't just be silent. And the one advice I give to all students is don't forget where you came from. You know, you're in Australia, but don't forget your roots. Your roots are important. It's what makes you you. So the reason I volunteer is because I feel power in helping others. And that's why I'm a lawyer. And that's why I will continue to help people forever. And that's what brings me joy. I'm sorry, but, you know, money, status quo, all of that, no, yes, of course, that brings joy to everyone. You're lying if it doesn't. But to help people and to make an impact and to influence, that is what brings me joy and what brings me this sense of belonging and this sense of purpose.
The path of becoming a lawyer can be a challenging one.
Yep.
And it's important to start a path in an early age and have some study habits as well. And it also requires certain academic skills. So in your opinion, what are the steps that need to be taken if any individual want to pursue their career as a lawyer?
In Australia?
In Australia.
Okay. Well, if you're from overseas, firstly, you need to make sure that your degree is assessed by a admitting authority in Australia. So if it's in, for example, in New South Wales, we have the Law Society of New South Wales, and that's if you want to become a solicitor. Contact them. They're very easygoing. They're great. They have so much information online. I keep saying that, but so much information online, and you can just give them a call. So you will need to first figure out if your degree actually allows you to become a lawyer in Australia, or if any bridging courses are required. Unfortunately, I can't comment too much on that, but all the information is available. The second thing I would say is network. Network is so important. You need to know people to really be able to become a good lawyer. You need to know other lawyers. And that's why in my early years, I would go to networking events not knowing anyone, and I'll just start talking to people and I would be inspired by them. I would speak to just randoms. I'll say not random people, but the people that were there that were lawyers, and I'll speak to them about their experiences, how they got to where they are. I've approached so many people on LinkedIn. If you want to become a lawyer, go to LinkedIn, look at what areas people are doing. If an area, brings you joy and you have passion in, for example, family law, reach out to family lawyers on LinkedIn and say, can we catch up for a coffee? Let's catch up for a coffee, please. I just want to understand how to become a family lawyer in Australia, and speak to them. Trust me, if someone did that to me, I would give them the time. Everyone will give you the time. And if one person doesn't give you time, you'll have 10 others that will. So network is very important. Ask questions. And try to get experience, whether it's volunteering. I volunteered. I volunteered for years. During school, I volunteered. After university, I volunteered. Volunteer. Understand how you can help people, and you will be able to get a role in a firm that you enjoy. But the most important thing is network, because the law is hard. And I'm very blessed. I have an incredible network and support, especially my current firm. I have an incredible mentors, actually, not mentors, that can really guide me. So make sure you do have a good mentor, and make sure that you ask not the right questions, but ask any questions. The law is something about experience. Okay, anyone tells you will do as much as experience. So if someone has the experience, ask them the questions and then go with it as well.
So we've come to the end of our episode, Shreeya.
Thank you.
Would you like to say some few words to our viewers that are watching currently?
If there's anything that you want to do, just do it. Stop thinking about all the negatives and what ifs and no, and I can't do it, and all these thoughts in your head. If there's something that brings you passion, if there's something that is a goal, write it down and get it done. And that's my number one priority. And also, if you don't know your rights, educate yourself and figure out what your rights are. We live in a world that there's so much information available. So the fact that you just say, I don't know my rights, is just not good enough anymore. It's not a good excuse. Take the time and learn, educate yourself, because education is key. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing your time
Thank
with us.
you.
Thank you so much for your invaluable experience, sharing your invaluable
Thank you.
experiences with us and your story as well.
Thank you.
And we wish you, I and our entire Everest TV team wish you all the best for your successful debut.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shreeya.
Thank you.
On that note, I would like to end tonight's episode. We'll be back next week. Please stay updated in our social media channels. Stay safe, stay influenced, take care, and thank you for watching Everest TV. Thank you.